I definitely rushed this video a bit. Please forgive anything confusing about what I say in it. The beginning of this video is something I said on the temporary intro on this website's homepage. If you came to this page on the website first, like if someone shared it with you or something, or it's the first time you're watching it and it's on YouTube, then this all will be new to you. If you listen to the intro on the previous page on the website, you can skip to about 4 minutes and 15 seconds into it. If you're watching this on YouTube and have not visited stilllovefreely.org, then please know that when this video talks about stuff on the website, stilllovefreely.org is the website that is being talked about. This intro is different from the one I usually have for this website, where I talk about why I've been out on foot for about 900 miles, showing some signs that I made about what I'm trying to do in my interrupted life with the communities of people around me. I have been doing that, but another interruption was pushed on me, and this interruption has legal deadlines. So for now, I have a bit of a priority for the stuff this temporary intro is about. Some of those 900 miles have been from time I spend outside Phoenix Suns home games before the game starts. I was doing what I was doing on most nights. I run and jog by the arena with signs that I wear and maybe say a few words to people as they pass, or some people say a few words to me. I pass by a lot of people each night. Out there, I jog and rehab myself with some signs that I carry at the same time. In this past year, I feel like I've made more progress getting back to where I was physically than I made in the first 3.5 years after the last major attack. Sometimes I almost feel like I've got my old body back. And because of how I felt for so long after the last major attack, I didn't have a lot of hope to feel that again. The signs tell people about my situation and this website, including some stuff about things a bunch of officials did, some of them police, did to attack me and injure me. And while I was out there carrying signs about that, another couple of police officers seemed to want to give me an unnecessarily difficult time, wanting to punish me without explaining very much why. They eventually gave me a ticket, a little bit of time after a really confusing exchange of words with them. I looked up the law that was written on the ticket, and it seemed like I may not have done anything illegal according to the law. So I decided to go to court to see what the court's opinion would be after the court found out what happened that night. I guess I figured I'd tell them what happened, and the police would tell them what happened. It would basically be the same thing, and then we'd find out what the court thought. But when I went to court, the court didn't follow its own procedural rules about how a case like that for a ticket is supposed to go. And then the two police officers seemed to be making stuff up about what happened that night, so it would sound more like I had done something wrong. These are officers I may have talked to last season when I was out there for just a couple of games, and they are officers that have been out there for many of the approximately 30 home games in a row, where I have ran or jogged outside of there close to a 5K or more each night. The officers in court seemed really sneaky, but with a little bit of help from just a few of the thousands of people who were out there that night, we can figure out and show some of what is really going on. If you or anyone you know has gone to a Suns home game, or might know someone who has gone to a Suns home game, you might be able to help. It was the game on December 13th. It was against the Knicks, and it was a pretty exciting game. Well, I mean, it did go into overtime anyway, and the Suns had a worse record than the Knicks, but they won. If you may be able to help, it has to do with trying to find anyone that may have seen anything or video that I could possibly put together about what happened, and this video, if you continue to watch it, has some more info, like the specifics of like where I was and the direction I was headed and what exactly happened, to see if I can find people who may have seen something to put that kind of stuff together. So please, if you possibly can help, do continue watching. And maybe if you feel we are PHX or we are Phoenix, you also feel that we can be a good, strong community. Thank you. In the past, I've had some messed up run-ins with police and other officials that were much more dangerous than this. And this is not as serious as the other stuff, so I don't want to make the biggest deal out of it. And if I can move on from it, I will, because it's already obvious that there has been bad stuff going on for years involving what officials have done to me. And it may not be possible on my own to find out if what happened outside the Suns game is a part of that stuff that's been going on for years. Still, this run-in, which didn't seem so dangerous or important at first, had its seriousness stepped up a bit by what police and other officials made happen in court. They did some suspicious stuff outside the game and some messed up stuff in court, And now finding out the reasons why they want to make stuff up or hide stuff in court is a lot more interesting, more serious, and seems like it could be part of the bigger mystery involving the dangerous run-ins with repeated attacks on me over the years. While I'm looking for help with this specific most recent run-in, help with the previous serious attacks in Phoenix that injured me would be great, but no one ever turned up with video or anything like that, or ever turned up to help me by explaining to the police higher up in the chain of command what they saw the police out on the streets do to me, and it's been so long already. Same thing for the way police took me and what lots of people did to me in Yavapai County, but that started out on a dirt road up there years ago. But there was some stuff that I did get from what happened afterwards that I put on this website. It's mostly just paperwork right now, but you can kind of find it through the explanations page on the timeline. If you go down towards like around 2008 to 2012, there's some stuff over there about what's been going on. Now this little thing so far outside the Suns game where I've been telling people about the other bad stuff that happened looks like a continuation of the same pattern of behavior I've seen from the officials that hurt me. It's a pattern where they keep trying to make it seem like I'm doing something seriously criminal while they're actually committing serious crimes against me. I even wonder if I've run into these same police officers before, because some of this being in court in Phoenix for a ticket stuff seems familiar from years ago. And some things I've seen before from officials in the justice system who keep trying to criminalize me more and more while they hide their crimes is that they keep making the same kind of bad mistake because they don't seem to be aware of how to do what is probably the best thing that a justice system can do for a community, for a city, a state, or even a country. It seems that the most important thing a justice system has historically done for centuries is help people to get along well in communities. I have so many things I'd like to say about that most important thing for centuries. But I have very little time to explain it right now. I have that court deadline and other kind of urgent survival-related things. Having very little time for many important things is part of what happens when officials keep harassing and hurting someone. Sometimes officials are taking my time by taking me away and holding me where I can't get anything useful done. Sometimes taking my time by attacking me and injuring me, so it's harder for me to get anything done for years. Sometimes by taking money, so it's harder to get other things I used to survive, and that just takes more of my time. And sometimes I end up just using a lot of time to prepare things for court, because if I just let things they do slide, it seems like it just makes it easier for them, and then they try things that harm my life even more often. I would like to get to the point where this kind of stuff can be stepped down, and we can figure out what is going on. Still, some officials right now have been stepping it up, and the strangeness and the suspicious behavior is there again. So there's more stuff to try to figure out. They're making up stuff about me walking along on the cement part of the light rail tracks. But I have done that before. For a good number of feet, too, like 50 feet. Not at the Suns game, but I did do it somewhere else. Before I knew about the details of the law, back at the beginning of when I started walking with these signs in 2016. And I still take a few steps sometimes on the cement part of the tracks. That's not like my intended traveling route, but with hundreds of miles of walking and lots of people trying to avoid bumping into each other and serious urgent problems I'm trying to overcome when I'm walking with signs. Once in a while my feet do make their way onto the cement part of the tracks, and I admit it, even though I generally succeed in avoiding the cement part of the tracks 99% of the time. So them having to make up stuff in court about it, instead of maybe just talking about what actually happened, hints that they have something else serious going on that they are not talking about, serious enough to lie in court. If all they were trying to do was regular parts of their job, why didn't they just say what really happened with me any of the times they think I may have done something wrong? Instead, they put together a suggestion in court that I was running on the light rail tracks, or light rail guideway they called it maybe, that I was running there just before one of them spoke to me on December 13th outside the Talking Stick Arena before the Suns game. But that didn't happen. Them speaking out to me did happen, but I was not on the light rail tracks before they spoke to me. I was running along a regular part of the sidewalk, where everyone else walks. I'll actually show you the areas around the arena marked in color in a few minutes in this video. And although thousands of people saw me that night not running along on the light rail tracks throughout the night, it's hard for me to prove them wrong because no one watched me the whole time, from the beginning to the end of the night. It goes like this. 3,000 people could walk into court and say they saw me not running along the light rail tracks, and still just have 2 people say I actually did run on the light rail tracks. Then each person who saw me not run on the light rail tracks could be asked the same question. Did you see him the whole time he was there that night between approximately 6:15 and 7 p.m.? Then everyone would basically have to say, no, I didn't see him the whole time. Since when I'm out there running with my signs, each person basically only sees me for a few seconds or like a minute as I pass them when they're on their way into the arena to watch the game. Then the next question could be like, is it possible that he ran along on the tracks during the time you didn't see him? And then everyone would basically have to say, yeah, I guess since I only saw him for a little bit, it's possible that that happened when I didn't see him. And so proving the 2 people wrong who said I did run along on the tracks would be rather hard. But there is a way. There was only 3 people who testified in court about this. One was me, and then there was the 2 police officers saying I ran along on the tracks right before they talked to me to give me the ticket. You know, they could even try to get other people to lie and say it happened the way they said. Some Phoenix police have threatened to me before to use witnesses to take their side of a made-up story. But even if they do that, there is a way to prove them wrong because the officers testified that I was running on the tracks right before they stopped me. That means that to prove what they said was made up, I would only have to show that I wasn't running on the tracks at the moment they said I was right before they spoke out to me and started that weird conversation. That would start to show and peel back the suspicious, mysterious behavior and maybe give us a way to find out what they are hiding. It could help if people who saw that moment could say something, but it's a whole lot better proof to have video. Each night I'm out there before a Suns game, I see many people with their cell phones out taking a video of stuff going on out there. So it's possible someone may have gotten a video of the moment, or perhaps some people each caught a little bit of it on video, and those bits could be put together to show that what they are saying happened didn't really happen. According to what the police wrote down, it was December 13th, 2016. It was probably sometime between 6:15 and 6:45 p.m., but it could have been a bit before or a bit after. More importantly, let me tell you where it was, so you can see if any video you or your friends may have shows that area on that night. I'm looking at this on Google Maps Street View. It is on the north side of the Suns Arena at Jefferson and 2nd Street. The arena is also called Talking Stick Resort Arena. That's the main entrance over there. Those are the light rail tracks over there. That purple is a crosswalk where people can walk towards the arena. The orange is the sidewalk around the arena. The top yellow bar is the top of a protective barrier, and the bottom yellow bar is the place where that protective barrier is anchored to the sidewalk. The blue shows an area that is a few inches less than 3 feet wide. It's the area of the sidewalk on the unprotected side of the barrier. That barrier seems to be there so that when big crowds make their way around the arena, no one gets too close to the light rail and gets hurt. When the officers first spoke to me on the night of giving me the ticket, they only seemed to mention going on the other side of the barrier. When I saw the law that was written on the ticket, I looked that law up, and it seemed to me that I might not have done anything wrong on that night that was against that law. Earlier in the night, I had been running over here, headed in that direction towards that area, and there was a big crowd of people in front of me. I looked over the barrier to see if it was clear for me to run along that part. It was, and so I did. Passed by the crowd, and went back to that side, and then went over in that direction, and ran along here. That was probably the first, last, and only time I went on the outside of the barrier that night. So later in that night, when an officer spoke out to me and said, "Don't go on the other side of that fence," or "Don't go over there," or something like that, that's what I thought he was talking about. I said something like, "Why not?" And he said something like, "It's illegal." A weird conversation began. Tough to understand between Me and a couple officers, I was having trouble understanding it. That was the conversation about what they ended up putting on the ticket. But then the officers in court seemed to be saying that they saw me running over here immediately before they spoke out to me. Like they saw me running over here in that direction, and then they spoke out to me when I got here. But I'd been running over here, weaving through people before they spoke out to me. I'm wondering why they felt like they had to make that part up like I was over here. Seems like it could be a real serious reason, or else why would they risk taking a chance on faking something in court? These are some video clips I took of me running from a few different angles, so that it's easier to imagine what I might look like in any of the videos you may have. I think video would help solve a little bit of this mystery where a lot of things that happened are like things that happened in the larger mystery surrounding all of this, just this time without physically injuring me or keeping me captive for a long time. With the video, it won't help them to keep saying that happened when it didn't. Even if they just make up something to cover their reasons again, it would at least show people there is something mysterious happening. And with that, we can get through at least one layer of fakeness in this mystery. Also, there are some ways a video can be used in the appeal process of this case that they pushed on me. And that would be nice too, but I'm not sure if it will get to that. It depends on what the court will be willing to look at. There are some deadlines though, and that will make a difference in the chance that I have that the court will be able to look at it. But it just seems so strange, even in court. The judge said only things relevant to the case were things about the law, but then she started commenting on safety, and later she spoke like she was assuming I'd broken the law, even though the court didn't have all the evidence yet, and on and on. I mean, the police mentioned some other things of the night on the ticket in court too. They seem to be hinting at all kinds of other stuff that wasn't in the law. Maybe this has to do with stuff I've done on other days, but they could have just told me about what they had a problem with that was really going on. It didn't have to be this complicated or confusing. With all that I have on my mind from the serious unresolved crimes committed upon me, it would be especially great if they just handled things like this in simple ways that didn't involve making up stuff in court about it. It would be a lot easier to understand, and it wouldn't feel so much to me like they were just continuing a series of crimes against me. I wonder if they just expect me to guess at their hints, or if they're just mad about stuff that they don't want to talk about because they're thinking like, oh, he's doing this bad and that we're gonna have to figure out a way to get him. You know, like they've got it in for me somehow. Like if they said something they may have hinted at, like that they thought going on the other side of the fence is not the best example to set with younger people out there who might get hurt, I'd say I agree, and thanks for the reminder. You know, it's hard to keep that near the front of my mind, though, sometimes with all I have going on. The urgent things I'm trying to take care of out there aren't just things that could happen. They're the kinds of things that already have happened, and are the kinds of things that can destroy a life. Those things are made possible by most people I see around, because basically everyone out there has let the money that they give be used to attack me for like 10 years. Almost everyone I see out there can be a reminder that I have found no one who wants to work on solving the problems in the way that the problems like this can be solved for people in situations like the one I'm in. Some committed, open conversation about the problems would do a lot to solve them. I mean, I have the experience of being in the situation, and I think I have the ability to judge what solving it, what a solution means to me. But I have found essentially no one willing to do that, and essentially everyone is willing to let their money be used to attack me, even if they don't know it. Many people have found out and still aren't willing to do what, to me, really means a solution. That doesn't leave me thinking that there are many other people who would have an instinct to do differently than the people who found out already. Hopefully, I'm wrong. At least perhaps it seems doing something differently is the kind of thing people will have to do intentionally, or they'll be stuck living a capital type of life supporting things with their money that get them the best benefits, while the support also means supporting the suffering of others because of letting their money be used to hurt others. Stuck in that life not knowing how to get free of it, when this situation, like the one with me, is the type of situation where they can free themselves of that. So I keep trying to solve the wrecking of so much of my life, and that tends to take up a lot of the space for things that I can keep at the front of my mind, and knocks mostly everything else to the back of my mind sometimes. And if I could keep the idea that someone might try to copy me and get hurt at the front of my mind all the time, then I wouldn't ever go over there when there was a crowd around like that where someone might copy me. I usually do keep it at the front of my mind somewhere, but not always. So a reminder would be welcome. But they didn't say that. They could have said some other things they may have hinted at. Like saying, from what we saw, part of the area you ran on is part of the light rail guideway. And I know it's just part of your foot that stepped over the line, maybe not even your whole foot. But I think you deserve a ticket. Here it is. Even if they said that or something like that in court, it would be a very different story. Then we could just, find out what the court thinks, which is what I had been hoping to do when I went to court. Maybe some of that stuff they said they were hinting about having talked to me before, or other police that have talked to me about something similar, and now they wanted to give me a ticket. If they had simply said that it was about any of that, this could have been taken care of already. Instead, they went through a whole big sneaky setup, spending my time and even more of our money instead. If they want to watch me and act like line judges or refs looking at me, so close that they're going to want to blow the whistle every time my toes touch a line or I step over a line, fine. But I think it's a bit messed up that they want to pay so much attention to me so they can blow that whistle, while they haven't looked at the people who have been attacking me and blown the whistle there. It kind of doesn't make sense to still target me without also at least going after the people who attacked me, unless that's exactly what they want to do. If they want to just keep adding to the bad things officials have done to me, then that would make perfect sense. But if I stepped over a line, I stepped over a line. Still, it's a lot bigger deal if they do watch me to target me in court and then lie about what they saw. If that is how they want to use the justice system, then I start to think about the most important thing a justice system has done over the centuries, and I start looking for some way to see if I can get some parts of the justice system back on track to that most important thing. And using the next best option in court to see what happens is part of looking for some way to get the justice system back on track. I think it's interesting that if you win in court, it's basically over for you, but not if you lose. If you lose, you get to keep trying if you want. I think it has something to do with the way higher courts don't totally trust the lower courts. It was like that all the way back to when the king was the only judge in court, and was like, you know what? I'm the king, I've got too much to do, I can't be making all these decisions on how to resolve every little conflict that pops up in the kingdom. Why don't I just pick some other people to put in the king's court, I'll call it, and let them decide. And if anyone has a problem with how they decide what to do in their conflict, then they can come to me. That ought to take care of a lot of it for me, and still stop the other people from messing up the kingdom too bad if they make a bad decision in one of these conflicts. With a court like that, anyone who won or got the decision they wanted would be okay with it. But the person who lost or didn't get what they wanted still had a chance to keep trying if it was important enough for them. And that would make it easier for the king too, because they would do the work to bring a possible bad decision to the attention of a king by keeping on trying and taking their options to appeal to the king. Oh, I want to appeal to the king, this decision's been bad, and they would be motivated and do it. The king wouldn't even have to keep much of an eye on his court to look for bad decisions because people would bring him to him. And in a court like that, a decision where someone who does something still gets off scot-free, it can make people feel like the court isn't that good at its job. But decisions courts make where that decision hurts someone for no reason or for the wrong reason, well, that makes the people who get hurt start to feel like the court is hurting them and that the kingdom is hurting them. And that tends to make people feel more like the court and the kingdom are their enemy. That is the situation I have been facing, and the one that I've seen other people face. There were decisions based on made-up reasons in this ticket case I've been talking about, and in the more serious cases before. And the courts before made those decisions, even when they seemed to know that the reasons were made up. The courts that I've been seeing don't follow the guidance that has been put together for them from the past experience of our courts. I like that guidance. It seems to be by far the best guidance for making decisions that resolve conflicts that arise between people. The situations that myself and others are facing, the situations with the bad decisions, are situations that have historically been bad for countries. It can tear apart countries from within. I don't want that happening to our country. I wonder about the people I've seen who are part of the court system. Why don't they see how awesome a guide they have? What is it that they see that I don't? There must be something, but I don't know what it is. And I'm hoping to get the court and our justice system to stop making those kinds of bad decisions so often. I didn't get what I wanted in this case, and I was hurt by the court for the wrong reasons. So I'm going to use the option I have in this type of court system to keep trying. I'm going to make an appeal, and have started it already. If people don't use their appeal options very much, then higher courts don't get to find out about all the bad decisions being made in lower courts. The deadline for the next papers I have to turn in to court is the 10th of April. So if anyone can do anything before then, it might make a difference for what the court's going to be willing to hear. But it's also possible that I could use any video or other evidence sometime within the next few months. And no matter when it is, it can help peel back the layers of suspicious mystery. So please don't let the passing of the 10th stop you from trying to help with this. I did something special that could hopefully help figure out a lot of what some officials are doing in Phoenix. When I was looking around the tracks later that night, the night of the ticket, to see if what I had done was against the law somehow, I started wondering if this ticket was just part of something the police were doing while keeping tabs on me. Like, if they were doing it while they were watching me, sometimes to gain some kind of advantage they could use against me. I was wondering that night and came up with an idea. Since I thought it was kind of weird that they only talked to me about what was going on the uncommon side of the barrier, the protective barrier, they only talked to me about that later on in the night and then gave me a ticket instead of talking to me right away about it. I decided that I should start acting like I was thinking out loud about what would happen if I took the case to court. And I talked out loud about how wide the tracks were and what the law said and stuff like that. And I even said something else out loud like, it's kind of weird that they waited to stop me. It kind of shows that maybe there was something going on between the time they saw me on that side of the barrier and the time they finally decided to give me a ticket. See, I thought that maybe they were watching me and planning what to do to really try to stick it to me, especially because what they said to me was so confusing and aggressive when they did finally stop me. And because in the past I've had bad experiences where they're just trying to stick it to me, at least some officials are. The stuff I said out loud was stuff I said when it looked like there was no police who were listening. It's possible that they were somehow listening. People can use long-distance microphones. It's not that difficult, and police have a lot of technology. That may be why they changed their story from what really happened to saying they stopped me right away, so it wouldn't look weird like they were scheming and planning in between the time they saw something they thought they might be able to give me a ticket for or were mad about and the time they decided to say something about it. But I only said that stuff out loud as like a Trojan horse, so they would think it helped them to make something up. But them doing that actually gives me a better chance to show that something suspicious is going on, because now I have an actual chance to show that they made up something in court to harm me if I can find anyone that had a video of that moment. Now I know all of this can be very confusing, but it will make a lot more sense if we can find video of what really happened. Then we can go from there. I'm psyched to have a chance to figure some things out. I've done a lot of work for many years to figure things out. But if I don't get video of it, I'll move on. It's not the most important thing, and I do have more important things to do than to figure out if this part of the mystery is something that is related to the other parts or not, or if it's something that they were plotting or scheming. It seems like it really could have been, but maybe if there is video, we can figure some of this out and move on to the more important things still. We can do both if there is. If you can contact me and tell me if you have some video or if you saw anything, please visit the contact page on this website. There are ways to contact me there. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, email address, Snapchat, stuff like that. Or you can just post it kind of anonymously if you want on YouTube and direct message me the link or something like that. All right, well, some people like to say that we are PHX. Or we are Phoenix. I like to say it too. I even hashtag that sometimes. But it feels really good when PHX, when Phoenix, when we the people of Phoenix can help make sure that Phoenix is good to all the people. That sounds like a good, strong community to me. It may be a small step here that we can take together, but it's a step that we can take. The type of situation I am in affects more than just me. Other people are in these types of situations in Phoenix with threats and the danger of attacks, and even people who aren't being harassed or hounded for mysterious reasons for years still have a more difficult time feeling free because this is going on around them. So please do help if you can. And the sooner the better, I think. And good luck out there. And better skill if you want. You can practice and not really rely so much on luck to be awesome out there if you want. You can practice that, you can have some skill. And if you're having trouble, let me know if there's anything I can do to help you. Thank you.